Hi guys. This is Keelan Lewis. Welcome you guys back to my YouTube channel called named Countess America. I know you guys probably thinking I haven't done a video in a while, but the topic that I want to touch on today is basically the libertarian position on the war on drugs. And one of the libertarian positions on the war on drugs is that it has been ineffective at limiting people's access to dangerous drugs. And if you don't know it, the opioid crisis is going on right now in the Midwest, where a lot of factory jobs are being left, and people are taking into opioids. Or if you following the case with Purdue with them hiding money offshore or whatever. You know what rich folks do basically with that, and them having trying to and the government trying to negotiate a settlement, a concession from them to compensate the victims from them getting damaged or their loved ones dying. What was it from opioids? Because they influence the doctors with these medicines, with the opioid medicines and stuff like that that's used for pain and all kind of other remedies, all kind of other medical purposes. And one of the other things that I want to touch on is that we have in prison a lot of people in jail just from selling or just from using drugs. And most of the people who are in jail are mostly minorities or in jail for having it on them, selling, using, or whatever it is, and people are sitting there and not getting help. And today, our police, and our prisons are wasting resources, and we could be locking up people who are actually like doing fraud or the drug lords, are like the drug lords up like El Chapo, who got locked up, who's in New York, who's somewhere else now. I've been keeping up with that story. And another thing that I want to touch on is that America's war on drugs is basically led to the um, militarization of police. Like if you remember what happened in Ferguson with them riding on the like like vehicles that you would normally see in the army, or more recently, you could look at what's going on in Brazil and the favelas where they're killing, or shooting civilians, casualties, or if you really interested, like look up like the war on drugs, what's going on right now. A more extreme example would be what's going on in the Philippines with President Duterte, him having when they're killing civilians, and it has it actually led to more violence, more deaths. The war on drugs. Now America's war on drugs has basically not only militarized the police, it also caused a divide between civilians and the police, and not only that, it caused a further divide. Even though there always has been a historical divide between black people and the police. If you know about the slave patrols and what the original role of the police was in this country, where it's made for it's like them locking up more black folks for it's based me personally. And I think a lot of people who have studied this and that like realize this is a racist policy. If you study the crack versus the crack cocaine, I mean cocaine versus the crack cocaine, and the discrepancies and all this sentencing and stuff like that, looked it up and why that happened with Joe Biden, which is another reason now I'm not voting for his old ass. But yeah, and another thing that I want to touch on is that I don't a lot of libertarians think that the government shouldn't have a say so on what drugs people are permitted to consume, because it treads on freedom. You should be able to put what we want in your body and deal with the consequences, which is something that I also agree with. So I want to talk about something that the country's name, Portugal. If you like look up at any land, you realize in the 1990s they was going through like people were using heroin and HIV. They was basically leading Europe and basically all the bad things associated with drugs, diseases, crime, all of the byproducts of rampant drug use. And so it basically did what a lot of countries did, what America did, which America is still doing 17 years later, even though it hasn't reproduced any results. It does, it did produce results. It made a lot of prison man, a lot of people in prisons were very wealthy or whatever by getting those drug minimum minimum sentence laws passed, but mandatory minimum laws passed. And so the point I was making that Portugal did basically what America did the war on drugs, and they realized that it wasn't stopping anything. It was causing even more of a problem. And so what they did was in 2001 they decriminalized the consumption of all drugs and started a harm reduction policy, which is basically them helping people like use drugs more effectively, like getting basically doing what they're doing in Seattle and other cities is basically taking needles and dirty needles off the streets, which reduces HIV stuff from HIV and other stuff that hepatitis just caused by dirty needles, and give people clean needles, making sure people have a safe like more safe when they use drugs. Like a lot of the addicts, helping them. Basically, it has led to a reduction in HIV/AIDS rates and a lot of drug overdose deaths and stuff like that. People hurt, and only that more people have went to treatment for to become to get off to stop becoming to drugs, stop using it, stop being able to stop having to depend on it. And so I think Portugal has just done a good job, although it hasn't been perfect. A lot of critics of their policy will point out whether it will be whether it will be like one of the things the critics point out that they're normalizing drug use because one of the aims was to get rid of the stigma around drug use, which has led to a lot more people getting more treatment. And one of the other things is that it has led to a lot of people more. It has led to increase people actually experimenting with the with drugs, which is basically a byproduct. Like more people get educated, some people are going to try. But I think education and which is part of a lot of these harm reduction policies. But I think it's a good thing. While not perfect, it's better than locking people up. Well, like instead of treating it as a criminal problem, which definitely so long, they treat it as a medical problem. And then it's going to save up resources to invest in and other things that this country need. And that's basically the libertarian take on drugs on war. And I gave you a little bit of history, whether it be modern or when it comes to Portugal. Looked it up. There's a great article by it's called "Want to Win the War on Drugs." Portugal might got an answer by Nana. I can't pronounce her last name, but it's a pretty good article. It's about a Times magazine. It's on their website. Look it up on Google. Anyway, it's Campus Americas. Thank you for watching my video on my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Do your own research. Peace out.